Hi, I'm John Malice. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Glad you are here. We have an activist in the house today. We're going to talk about all sorts of issues that are very important here in the city of Fresno, especially since we have a new mayor that will be sworn in January. Your phone calls are welcome here on a Friday morning, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back with our program in a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program on a Friday morning, showroom floor at Ventura TV. This is Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. A couple of programming notes. Cam Worrell will be my guest here on Monday. He is the former Fresno State football player. He now does the color commentary on radio. Of course, 940 ESPN that carries the Fresno State football games. He'll break down what's going on at Fresno State with their football program. They have a new coach coming in. Hey, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I've read correctly, wrestling starts in 2017 at Fresno State. So you have that sport back. It'll make some people happy, and they probably should have the sport. They probably should never have eliminated it in the first place. Anyway, on Tuesday, we'll have a story about the postal annex, not the post office, the postal annex. What kind of services do they provide that are very similar to the post office? In addition to that, they provide a lot of services leading up to the holidays, some special things. So we'll talk to some people from the Postal Annex on Tuesday. It'll be a business segment. In the meantime, you're watching us live on Comcast Channel 375 as usual. It is Xfinity, and if you have Comcast cable, you can watch us every Monday through Friday live at 10 o'clock. And if you have over-the-air broadcast with a digital antenna, you can do the same, 43.6 and 13.1. And by the way, you can watch us 3 times in one day. Can you believe that, my friends? You just can't get enough of MeTV, can you? The replay comes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on this program, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight on 4.6 Biz TV. And so you also have a chance to watch us on YouTube once this is over. And you know, you can watch that on YouTube until eternity, until time runs out. It'll be on there forever, long after you and I are gone, my friends. All right, let's get right to the topic of today's program. Newly elected mayor, I think Lee Brandt is feeling the pressure right now. He told me right here on this program he wants to be the mayor of Fresno. He wants to be the mayor for everyone. Exactly what that means, I'm not sure, but believe you me, Brandt feels the heat right now, and the heat will be turned up as soon as he is sworn in next month. There are several groups out there promising to hold Brandt to his word, my friends. Now, these groups are focusing on the southern part of the city, southeast, southwest Fresno, where there is substandard housing. Change it. Yes, right there, the living conditions. They want Brandt to get rid of slumlords like that guy, Chris Henry, the owner of the Somerset Apartments, who was fined more than $200,000 after residents were left with no hot water and no heat just about a year ago. They also want Brandt to focus on minority groups, people of color, immigrants. Roll a videotape. Those people who feel they are not being given the same opportunity as others. In fact, some believe they are being targeted by police. Organizations like Black Lives Matter, a group that held a massive rally over the summer, and a group called Faith in Community, a coalition of Fresno religious groups working for social justice. But Brandt also has to walk a tightrope. He promised to be tough on crime, crack down on gangs, drugs, and criminals. He vowed to keep the city safe by implementing a community policing program. At the same time, by starting a citizens policing advisory board to monitor the police shootings, as in the case of Dylan Noble. So he's trying to listen to everyone: Hispanics, Sikhs, Monks, African Americans. Police Chief Jerry Dyer told us on this program, blacks are responsible for many of the shootings in Fresno.
These neighborhoods and policing, because we know that's where the violence occurs. We unfortunately know that 53% of the shootings that occur in Fresno are committed by African Americans. even though they only make up 7.7% of the population or 8%. So it stands to reason that our officers are going to be in those neighborhoods for the protection of people. And during that time, they're going to be making traffic stops, detaining people, and there's a potential for confrontation. But people want us in those neighborhoods. The people that live there, sometimes they're prisoners in their own home, and they want us to be there protecting them. So I think the injustice is sometimes when we have a false narrative that the police are brutal. We sure have our incidents in America today where police officers use excessive force. So there's a perceived use of excessive force. When that happens, when that one incident happens, no matter where it is in our nation, it's caught on an iPhone, put on YouTube, and it goes viral for everybody to see and everybody to make a judgment. Over 900,000 police officers in America today, handling tens of millions of calls, and when they make one mistake, everybody in America knows about it. That's injustice.
Live in our studio, glad she's here, Melissa Knight, a lecturer at Fresno State, but she is also a political activist who monitors all of these various situations. By the way, I personally reached out to Victoria Garrity. She is the leader of Faith and Community right here in the city of Fresno. One of those organizations talked about in terms of holding the feet to the fire as far as Lee Brand is concerned. She originally agreed to come on the program, not today, on another day, and then backed out. Augie Blancas and Sandra Castro of Fresno Building Healthy Communities also flat out declined, I should say, to come on this program. 436-ME-TV, option 11 is your telephone number if you want to call in and ask our guest here a question today about all these various topics, very important topics that confront the city of Fresno. Back after a quick timeout.
Explore strange new worlds on MeTV. Seek out new life.
I've seen old photographs of this period. Let's get out of here.
And new civilizations. Boldly go to Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show.
Weeknights at 8 on MeTV Fresno.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Back here on the program, what issue is important to you as far as Fresno is concerned? What is it? I mean, is it housing? Is it poverty? Is it gangs? Is it crime? Is it all of the above? Glad to welcome in Melissa Knight. She is a lecturer at Fresno State, also a political activist. So what do you make of my monologue? So if you're Lee Brand, my God.
Your plate's full.
Wow. You got pressure from this side, Mm-hmm. You better take 4 Excedrin, not 2.
Right.
Okay, so what do you do if you're Lee Brand? What do you do, in your opinion?
You've got to reach out to everyone. It really is about how transparent his governance will be, who he brings to the table, who has a seat, who has a voice. And I think that's what people are watching for.
Isn't he doing that now?
He seems to. He seems to be. You know, he's talking all of that and inviting the right people, it seems. You know, but what is he actually doing in the community, and how does that translate?
Well, he's not mayor yet,
right.
But so yeah.
What has he done up to this point? How inclusive has he been? You know, who is he seen with, and what kinds of policies has he triumphed?
Right. We got a phone call already. Well, caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Melissa Knight.
Yes, this doesn't really mean anything about today's person, but what do you think about the guy that hit the baby in the stomach and now is released?
Yeah. Well, there was a big article in the paper here and also on the news about the young man who apparently was accused of hitting a 14-month-old baby in the stomach to stop the crying. He's an African-American gentleman. For some reason or other, I guess there wasn't enough evidence to hold him. He was in jail. They released him from jail, but they're going to continue to investigate. The DA's office, Jerry Dyer, but he was let out of jail, I believe, last night. What do you do in a case like that?
That's awful. Any type of domestic violence, family violence has to be taken seriously. I don't understand how they would let him go. Who else could have caused those kinds of injuries if they're looking at who's in the home? There was a reason that he was arrested. Usually there's a hold put on the baby and anyone in connection until they've got that worked out. So where is the baby still in the hospital? What's going on?
Baby died. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, babies cry. He should know that. But the bigger picture here with this young man being let out of jail. Okay, he's an African American. People are going to point to that and say, see, they commit a lot of crimes. As Jerry Dyer said in that soundbite, he said, now, African Americans make up 8% of the population here in the city of Fresno, according to stats I've read. Whether or not that's true, I guess it is. But Jerry Dyer claims that 53% of the shootings that actually take place are committed by African Americans. Do you buy that?
No.
Explain.
I really
We
don't.
have plenty of time here.
I really don't. All shootings in Fresno, for what period of time is he talking about? Statistics can be very skewed. Our population of African Americans is low. It's lower than what the national average is, which is about 12.9, 13% roughly. African Americans are spread out across the city and county of Fresno. When he's talking about targeting specific communities, he's targeting people based on communities of color are here and there. Southeast and Southwest Fresno. High rates of crime, high rates of gentrification. You've got lower quality in terms of amenities available to the community. You've got lower access to services, health concerns, and disparities in population across the city of Fresno. All of these things really need to be looked at. Community policing. We've done problem-oriented policing. We've done community-oriented policing. Our city police department is nationally accredited. How do those things translate to better policing that really is community-focused, where communities are benefiting?
Well, so where did Jerry Dyer, I wonder, get this stat from? 53% of the shootings that take place are committed by blacks and African Americans. We have another call here. He was on this program. He talked about it. He claims it's true by looking at the stats. They've analyzed the stats. There's Jerry Dyer right there. He also said that in that soundbite. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Christian. Am I?
You have to mute your television. We can hear feedback. Please turn your TV down.
Okay. Hi, my name's Christian. This is for Melissa. Wanted to say love your earrings, by the way. But can we talk about also how what did you say? Oh, sorry. Can we talk about how there's Black African Americans that are incarcerated and then released because there wasn't enough evidence and they were falsely imprisoned?
Sure. The Innocence Project has their hands full nationwide looking at cases where people are behind bars and they really are innocent. We've got DNA for rape kits, for example, that are stacked up in the hundreds of thousands in cities and counties across the nation without the funds to actually test those kits. Yet there are folks who have been incarcerated for committing those crimes, and the rape kits haven't even been tested. So sometimes we put policies in place, let's do rape kits. Great policy, we should have that, but we don't put the rest of what needs to be in place to carry that through. So we collect evidence and then we shelve it. How is that helping the justice process? How is that ensuring justice for people who are accused of crimes?
Well, what do you want done about it? What can be done?
I want those rape kits tested. I want to make sure that we've got a jury process that really is fair. We talk about ideals in this country. America as a great country, our justice system as a wonderful justice system. We've Lady Justice with the balanced scales. Are those scales really balanced? Do people have a fair trial? Do they have a trial by a jury of their peers? Are things fair in our justice system? We have talking about statistics, we've got low percentages of African Americans population-wise overall, but disproportionately higher representation of African Americans incarcerated in every nation and the nation as a whole.
Let me get back to Jerry Dyer for just a moment. What would you like Jerry Dyer to do? What would you like Lee Brand to do? And getting back to those stats, they are hard to believe considering the low population of African Americans in the city of Fresno. If Jerry Dyer were here, what would you challenge him on? What would you say to him in terms of, okay, there's 53% of those shootings are committed by blacks? Prove it to me. I want to see the numbers and what you're looking at. What
Well,
would you say?
I definitely want to see the numbers, but I don't really think it's a question of talking numbers. I think that's something that's easy for politicians to throw out and to distract people from the real issues. I'd want to know, what are you going to do in each and every community? How are your officers being trained? I think it's a distraction away from talking about less lethal responses and different tactics approached with different suspects, whether or not we can talk people down if they have arms, or whether or not we shoot to kill as soon as we arrive on the scene. Our officers need to be and are trained with less lethal weapons, but are they deploying that?
It's a difficult balance to make, is it not? Especially when we have so much crime in the city of Fresno. There's no question about that. I do want to roll another piece of videotape before we go to a break. It's called Black Lives Matter 2. They had a rally, of course, in the summer. I don't know if you were there. The African Americans are worried about shootings. There have been shootings all over the country, especially this year. The shooting at Dylan Noble, we'll talk about that later. That was here in the city of Fresno. You got lawsuits all over the place with this case. But on the one hand, you have gangs, drugs, crime, people are being shot, stabbed. It's a delicate balance. I mean, police officers are out there, they're in harm's way every single day. What do you do? What do you tell an officer? Don't shoot if his life is in danger? What do you tell him?
Certainly, officers' lives are on the line every time they put that uniform on and go out there. We want our officers to protect us, absolutely. We want to know that our officers really are looking out for the entire community, and that there isn't a difference being made in terms of how they approach different situations based on the ethnicity of the people who are involved. There is simply no reason that we have officers who are trained with less lethal weapons to not use those, to not use tactics that would talk someone down. There's really no reason to shoot someone who has a knife and they're 30, 40 yards away. Do we really need to do that? We see so many situations where suspects who are armed with guns that are visible are talked down and they walk out. They're not taken out on a stretcher in a body bag. Why is that the reverse when we're dealing with African American suspects?
Black Lives Matter, the rally in Fresno, what did they hope to accomplish? What were they seeking?
Certainly a discussion about the issues, that this isn't something that is going to just be taken in stride.
Do they want their voice heard? Do
Absolutely.
They want action? And if they want action, what kind of action?
They want responsiveness. They want the shootings to stop. They want
better
policy
to change?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How so?
Policies need to change in terms of how policing is done. Again, there are policing agencies that are trained better than ours are here. If we look internationally, why are our police-involved shootings so disproportionately higher than every other nation that also has policing?
Caller, go ahead. You're on with Melissa Knight. What's your question?
My question was more like what does she think is does she think like, well, with the police that I see, I'm from Reedley, but there's a lot of police here that they don't live in the areas that they serve, that they patrol. I don't know how Fresno is, and that's where I see a lot of problems with the police in my town, is that, like where I live on this side of the tracks, they act one way, and where my brother lives is on the other side of the track, they act a different way. They're real cordial. A lot of the police officers live in that area. Do you think that could be a problem? Because, they don't know these people. They don't even interact with the people. And I think that's probably the problem. That's my question right there. Thank you.
Certainly. I think when police officers are a part of the communities that they're serving, there are relationships that develop, and there's a sense of community overall. The police officers among families, they are having the same struggles in their neighborhoods. They know the kids that are walking those streets and that are playing in those streets. They want their kids to be safe along with the kids that live in the neighborhood because they're a part of the neighborhood. So real community-oriented policing where the police are a part of the community is valuable, certainly.
I don't know if you were a witness to it or saw it or heard about it or read about it, but when Donald Trump visited Fresno back on Memorial Day weekend, there was a major protest right outside Selland Arena across from the Armenian church, right in front of it. And they were blocking streets, they were throwing items, they were using obscenities at police officers. Jerry Dyer was out there, and he did tone down the situation without using a bit of force. And there was quite a bit of force out there. They had the riot police out there. They had all sorts of agencies. They had Clovis Police, Highway Patrol. In fact, there's the protest right there, as a matter of fact. Jerry Dyer, and I was a witness to it, me along with a colleague of mine, did a fantastic and outstanding job of talking to the protesters one-on-one, asking them what they want, that they can't stay here all day, that they need to move along, they've got to clear the street, they don't have a permit. He didn't pull his weapon, no one pulled a weapon. It was a demonstration where it could have easily erupted into chaos. As you see the riot gear there, see the riot police there, they left, there were 2 or 3 arrests. But thanks to the calmness and I think the common sense used by Jerry Dyer, who talked to almost each one of these protesters, he calmed them down, and they dispersed. The majority of them. There's Jerry Dyer right there. Are you aware of what Jerry Dyer did at that rally?
I wasn't there, and I didn't see the actual news footage of it. I'm looking at it now.
Right.
Certainly, he did a good job. My question would be, why do we have riot police there in the first place? Do we not have a right to assemble and protest anything we want to protest?
You do need a permit to block the street. They were blocking Ventura Avenue, so you do need a permit to block or to block that street or use the street. It's against city policy. You do have the right to protest, but you have to stay on the sidewalks, from what I understand. But they were cursing, using obscenities, throwing items at police officers from what I saw. That's not a peaceful demonstration. It could have easily gotten out of hand, but Dyer's the one that calmed the waters. So you can't blanket every case with the same brush, can you?
Well, talking to protesters and calming them down is one thing, but how you train your officers in situations of force and the use of force when they have less lethal and the ability to use their voices, use some common sense, use some other tactics to get control of the situation and keep everyone alive, that's an entirely different issue. Why is it that we can't do that and other policing agencies can? And why do we have police showing up in riot gear with protests?
To make sure that things don't get out of hand. What if they start destroying property and hurting regular citizens? They have their job, they're sworn officers to protect the citizens here in the city of Fresno and property. That's their job. That's their sworn duty.
How do we determine when we take officers and have a look of a militaristic police in riot gear? Based on which protests, based on which gatherings, based on which ethnic group, based on how volatile we think that particular ethnic group or those issues are?
I'm not sure that was based on
determined?
any particular ethnic group. I think that was based on how volatile, how explosive this situation was going to be. And if it got out of hand, and it was happening at the time that there were other riots that were going on at Trump rallies around the nation, specifically San Francisco. I think there was one in St. Louis. They had to totally shut it down. So based on that, I think that's what was happening. It was a precautionary measure. It wasn't a show of force to say, hey, we're here, we're going to take you down. I think it was more of using it as a protective shield in case something broke out. And we saw what happened in Baltimore a few years ago and Ferguson.
Sure.
So was that not appropriate in your opinion?
It was appropriate that he was talking folks down, certainly, but this line of militaristic-looking officers at a rally just seems more than is necessary. It seems like it's about intimidation. How is that synonymous with community policing? You know, how do we, if you have your officers behind these shields, looking like they're about to go to war with the citizens, how is that a connection with the populace? It's not. Those things are in opposition. So
I got to go to break, but you wouldn't expect Jerry Dyer to go out there by himself,
no,
unprotected.
no. I'm not saying that officers shouldn't be there. I'm just saying that they look like they're going to war.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Okay, Melissa Knight is here. If you want to weigh in, ask her a question, you can call in. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Feel free. We're here for the next 35 minutes. Back with more in just a moment.
Revin is now on KVHF channel 4.4.
Melissa Knight is our guest today. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. This whole thing with our police department's out of control. We've got no question or accountability to anybody. When reporting my daughter being molested, I was hung up on 5 times, told her not sending nobody out. I had a gun pulled on me in my complex. The cop comes out, assaults me. You heard yesterday with the Lisa Smith camp. Nothing still has been done about it, and everybody knows about it.
Okay. We've heard you call in before on this call, or in fact, you call every day to complain about the police department. Let's try to limit this to 1 call per day per person, okay? Because I know you've called in before, and we've heard your story, and we're not trying to blow you off, but I guess he's one person that just has it in for police. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know his story completely, but he calls in every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and we only want to hear from each and every one of you. We appreciate your phone calls, but 2 or 3 times per show. You got to let other people get a chance and not block the line and let other people call in as well. Melissa Knight is here. She's an activist. She keeps an eye on these things. Okay, Lee Brand's the mayor. Jerry Dyer's the police chief. Jerry Dyer, maybe 2 more years, maybe 3 more years. We don't know exactly. What do you want Lee Brand to do? Give me some specifics of what you want him to do.
Accountability. I think that the citizens are asking for some type of police oversight where there is information about the policies that are being implemented, community input and oversight, and some looking into the police-involved shootings.
Well, he isn't implementing a community policing program. He is also forming a citizens police advisory board. And I believe he wants to hire a police auditor who is actually in Fresno, not some guy that's,
Right.
across state lines.
We need to know what that entails. I mean, those
Right.
sound like good programs and policies, but some specifics. Exactly what does community policing mean to you, and
Right.
who's going to be on the
I
advisory
think we have a
council?
call. Is the caller there? Go ahead. Oops, hung up. Okay. Call back at 436-ME-TV option 11. 1 call per person per show. Let some other people call in. We do have an open phone line. So accountability, obviously, that goes without saying, but that's with anybody.
Of course. What do you know about the Community Police Advisory Board? How will those people be selected? How long will they serve? What type of authority will they have?
Well, when he was here, he said he basically wants somebody from each ethnic group to sit on that board. So that's one indication. He wants that board to reflect the community.
Okay, and again, how will those people be selected? Will they be based on, are they friends? Are they folks that he believes will be yes people to whatever his policies or
Right.
the police chief's.
But on the other hand, as I
policies
said in
are.
the monologue, Brand is in a tight spot because he promised to be tough on crime too.
Mhm.
So he's backing the police department as well. So he is in a tight spot listening to advocacy groups who are holding his feet to the fire on various police shootings. On the other hand, he's being held to the fire on too much crime, too much gangs, too much drugs, too much this, too much that. So would you admit he's got a tough job?
Of course.
Hang on, caller. Go ahead.
Of course, everyone does. Every elected official, certainly a new mayor coming in, their plate is full, and they've got people in each ear, in the picture and out of the picture.
Would you like to be on that advisory board?
I might be interested in that. It would include knowing what the charge of that group is. I certainly wouldn't want to be a part of a group that is in name only, and I think that that's something that we as citizens really want to know. Is this just something that really kind of goes on a shelf and we pull it out when we need to put that card on the table and say, hey, I've got this, but does anybody actually listen to them? Do they have any level of authority for policy changes? How much weight does it have?
Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call, and I just want to say, Professor Melissa Knight, you're doing an amazing job. I'm new to the Fresno area, and so I am not familiar with the environment here per se, but I've been in protests in other areas where the black population is a minority group, and there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of anger and resentment at how we're being treated differently and that the police are targeting us. And so that when you have this unnecessary use of force, and it's justified almost with the community because they feel like, I had a woman yell at me, well then stop committing crimes, because they just assume we deserve some kind of violence.
Right.
I'm sorry, I get a little emotional. So I just wonder if, when you say that 53% of crimes or violence or shootings being committed by blacks or African Americans, you're targeting that population as it is. Police are in their environment more than they are in a white community. So, of course, you're going to arrest more blacks, and they're falsely accused as it is. So it's just like this whole disproportionate thing. And it's just, I feel like black people are getting enraged and they're responding, but then you don't want them to do anything aggressive. You call it a riot, but yet we're being killed. So how is that okay? We're just supposed to take it or be polite and quiet?
Let me ask you something before you comment, Melissa. Have you been the target of police?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Have you been targeted by police yourself, personally?
I have been traumatized by witnessing it. I personally have not been,
Okay.
but I've witnessed it where I've seen people harassed, grabbed without question, without even a valid reason. It's a suspicion. Okay, I'm black, I'm Arab, you know what? You just can justify profiling someone because you feel threatened. Well, white people feel threatened all the time. What are we going to do? We're going to go hide? We can't be visible? Mm-hmm. So I feel like the police are given this freedom to harass, and I have seen that. Just harass a particular person. Homeless people get it too. It's just like you assume they're criminals or they're violent or they're on drugs, and it's just this unnecessary force.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead,
Right.
Melissa. Thank you for the call.
You know, the stat, thank you, the 53%, yes, I want to know what the source of that is, but I also want to know what the point of throwing that out there, because it really just seems like a justification for harassment of black community. It seems like let's put this out there and reify that everything that you see when the news is on and a person is being put in a police car, it's a black person. It promotes the idea that yes, blacks are more criminal, and so the over-incarceration really isn't an issue. It's just they're more criminal, so they should be.
Who's looking at black people and saying, "Oh, you're a criminal just because you're black"? Who's doing it? Because I don't find myself doing that. I don't think that. So who's thinking that, and who's actually taking action on it? I'd like to know.
Police and citizens at large. When you look at the overwhelming effect of media, and the surveys that have been done where we're analyzing news feed, the people put in the cop car on, even when it's not necessarily what the story is about, and it's just a police story, and so you've got general feed and someone's being put in the car, it's almost always a black person. So those images get burned into the memory of, oh, that's a black person in a police car. We've got prison. We show black people, and we are over incarcerated. Our rates are disproportionate.
I don't think that.
And are you representative of everyone? When we look
I'm not
at,
saying, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I'm speaking for myself. I think, I don't know, Melissa. I think that people are a little bit more intelligent than to just come to the conclusion that just because you're black, you're a criminal. But it's like saying that you're white and you're not a criminal. There are so many white criminals. In fact, in Northeast Fresno, there's plenty of crime over there. Break-ins, cars are being burglarized.
Sure.
There's home invasions. Crime has gone way, and that's supposedly, quote, a white neighborhood in Northeast Fresno. Lee Brand's neighborhood, by the way, because he was a council member representing that area.
Sure.
But nonetheless, I mean, I look at it and say, okay, if somebody is charged with a crime, you go to trial, you're innocent until proven guilty. If you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic, if you're Hmong, what difference does it make? If you committed the crime, you should pay the price.
If you committed the crime, you should pay the price. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
However, why
are you telling me that I'm the smartest one in the room? I don't think so. But I can't believe that everybody's that dumb. You know what I mean?
That's a simplistic way of looking at law, policy, and policing. Sure, if you've done the crime, you should certainly serve the time. However, is every other part of that system applied fairly? Why are blacks a small proportion of the population, but over near 50% of those who are incarcerated, those who are on death row, and yet why are the majority of people who are behind bars innocently? Look at the Innocence Project. The people who have recently been freed, black. Why are we incarcerating people who actually didn't commit the crime, but yet we believe,
the system is not perfect. I don't believe any system
far from
is
perfect. It's far from perfect.
And so you're going to have those situations. You're going to have people that are incarcerated that really didn't do the crime.
Why would they be disproportionately black if we don't have a growing and widely accepted sentiment that blacks are more criminal? That goes back to slavery.
Go ahead. Is the caller there? Go ahead. Caller? You're on the air, caller. Go ahead. Well, I guess you're not. Got to go to break. 436 MeTV option 11. When you call in, just be patient. We'll get to your phone calls in just a moment.
You can find movies on over-the-air channel 13.3. Movies. Our name says it all.
The Justice Network is here. If you haven't tuned in, you're missing a great lineup of gripping stories of real crime, plus an unprecedented effort by viewers like you to play an active role in making your community safer. You can help support law enforcement by providing information that may lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals or find a missing child. Great shows and your chance to fight crime, only on the Justice Network.
Back here with Melissa Knight, and a phone call has come in. Go ahead, you're on the air.
I do want to say I was not here at the beginning of the program, but I have told you before on a different date that I have no fear of walking in West Fresno anytime with no weapon. Never had a weapon, never had a problem, never had an issue. Your comment about seeing mostly white people on TV, that's my recollection. I believe that it is not being targeted at black people, and I do wish them all the best. And I have
Wait a minute.
many people that
okay,
I
wait a
can
second.
walk up to and shake their hands and kiss their babies. And I am Caucasian. I
Wait a
just
second.
wanted to have your comment as to if you think, your guest comment, if you think maybe there is a supposition, because I have had problems because I have a bulldog where neighbors suppose that the dog is going to be violent. The dog looks at a kitty cat walking in front of her and just goes, that's a kitty cat, doesn't even bark. But people have actually said my dog is a menace. I understand that. I truly do. But I truly do not believe that it is just against black people. And I do wish you a very happy holiday.
I couldn't get my question in, but go ahead and comment.
Not quite sure how to comment. Happy holidays to you too. And yes, people
did
have.
he say? Did I hear him say that? Are you there, caller?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, okay. You are there. You didn't disappear. Okay, let me ask you. Okay, on the one hand, I heard you say blacks are not being targeted, or are they being targeted? I didn't understand your answer.
I believe they are not.
They are not being targeted. That's what I want Melissa to comment on.
Well, let me just put it to you like this. Everything is being targeted. Everything is.
What do you mean by that? Be specific. Everything
I
meaning
mean,
what?
white, Hispanic, Oriental, my dog, everything is being targeted.
Okay.
Okay, so if your point about your dog is it's a pit bull and people have ideas
Not
about.
a pit bull. That's incorrect.
What did you say it was?
It is an English bulldog and boxer mix.
Okay, so your dog is being targeted because people might have ideas about it being particularly ferocious. Where are those ideas coming from? And you're saying your dog is pretty gentle.
Yes.
Right. And
More
so
than
there are
gentle.
assumptions.
My dog is invited to hospitals. My dog is invited to Fresno State by ESPN.
Awesome. So perhaps there are people who are just afraid of dogs because they've been socialized to be afraid of dogs. Perhaps there are people who are afraid of blacks because they've been socialized to believe that blacks are dangerous. Might that be going on?
But do you think that's the majority of the population?
Actually, yes. I think that overwhelmingly people have been socialized to believe that blacks are dangerous.
Do you think the majority of the people are afraid of blacks?
I don't think that they would phrase it that way. I don't think that they would admit to it that way. That's white privilege. I don't think that people are aware of the degree to which the media influence for hundreds of years now and the socialization about what it is to be black and the criminalization, the creation of the black brute and criminal in the minds of America. That's been a very systematic and purposeful and intentional trope that's been played over and over and over again.
I think it depends on where you live, where you grew up, what neighborhood you grew up in, who your friends are, what class you belong to, because I grew up in a mixed area, went to school with all kinds of ethnic groups. So I'm not afraid of anybody, to be honest with you. So whether it's Hispanic, Black, Hmong, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, I went to school with all of them. So I think it depends on where you grow up, where you go to school, what you're exposed to as a young child. If you're sheltered and you're living still maybe in the 30s and 40s and think everything is segregated, because it's not, then maybe you have that attitude.
What's not segregated?
It used to be. This country certainly used to be.
It used to be based on what? There's more segregation now, educationally.
Not in California. I don't see segregation in California. Maybe
Really?
if you go to the South, I don't know.
Really? So a few years ago, and I think it's still in process, Bullard was interested in, some parents whose kids go to Bullard were interested in separating from Fresno Unified, and they were trying to partner with Fresno High, I believe, because they needed to have the ethnicity of the Fresno High area in order to not be.
Hang on, caller.
In order to push that forward. The majority of the students at Bullard are what ethnicity? The majority of the students at Fresno High are what ethnicity? The majority of the students at Edison High are what ethnicity? Why did Fresno Unified put Edison Computech at Edison? To bus in kids of other ethnicities. We're not segregated. There's more segregation in this country post Brown versus
That's integration to me. That doesn't sound like segregation.
Our schools are more segregated post now than they were at the time of Brown versus Board of Education. There's new data out about that.
I want proof of that because I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. I'm sorry, I disagree with you on that because it was segregated when I was going to school. It was more segregated. Although I went to not only an elementary school but a junior high school. They called it junior high at that time. At the time that Martin Luther King was marching, and the majority of the people that were going to my school were African American. In fact, the majority of my friends at the time were African American. There was a small number of Hispanics, a small number of Chinese and Japanese. When I went to high school, it changed. The majority were the Chinese. And then I think the second most, I think, were African Americans. So, and this was in the 60s and 70s. So I'm not seeing today what I saw back then with my own eyes.
There are new reports. I just read a couple in the last few weeks, and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
The data is out there. The segregation is more replete now than it was then. So it hasn't been a success of integration.
Don't you think it has to do more with, and I got to get to this call here, and I'm running out of time here. I'm looking at the clock. We need 2 hours today, not one. But don't you think it has to do with more about class and envy? It's about the have and have-nots. It's about who has money and who doesn't have money. Isn't Fresno about the tale of two cities, north versus south? The people in the south have little, if nothing. The poverty line is at $29,000 a year. Most people who live south of Shaw probably make under the poverty line. Isn't it about that?
Class absolutely mitigates issues of race. We certainly do have classism going on. That has to be addressed, but it's not all about class. When you look at how folks are being routed to prison, the cradle to prison pipeline or elementary school to prison pipeline, when we look at kids who are being expelled, why is it that African American kids are being expelled disproportionate to the numbers that they are represented in schools? And this is not just in California, but in states across the nation. Why do we have more black kids suspended, expelled, routed to special ed, whether they actually need special ed or not? Why are we taking black kids out of the classroom? What happens after expulsion? What's the route to college? How is that interrupted if we've got kids out of the classroom and expelled?
Let's take this call here real quick. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, John, Miss Knight. I want to answer a few of her statements here. For one thing, blacks tend to be shot with guns because they don't allow themselves to be talked down. They will keep arguing with the police. It's kind of a maxiom of survival. If a man's got a gun, you don't argue with him. A .40 caliber bullet does not recognize your constitutional rights. As far as the riot police in full gear there, that's a good deterrent. It's called Pax Parabellum. In other words, if you want peace, prepare for war. Get ready for it. And as far as blacks being threatening, they are threatened. They tend to use physical force against people who disagree with them. They will say, I'm going to kick your so-and-so for you saying things like that. We can't use a certain word because it belongs to you.
But aren't you wait a second.
There's such a thing called hate speech now. There used to be a thing called free speech. And if you don't like that, why don't you go back to, you can call yourself an African American, go back to Africa. I don't know why anybody would want to go to Africa. It's a damn cesspool of a continent anyway. So anyway, that's what I've said. John, would you like to answer me now?
No, I'm just a little shocked by some of your statements. I don't think every black is confrontational. I don't think every white is confrontational. I don't think how can you make a blanket statement about one ethnic group? How can you do that? I'm my ethnicity. No, look. Go ahead. Turn them up.
A great number of them behave this way. They came together and they clan together and claim Black Lives Matter. They're ignoring white lives. They're ignoring the threats they make to people, and they do make threats. I've experienced that. Also, I've seen them out in the street. They argue with you. They become irrational. They tend to be more emotional. They like they have something to prove. And I'm sorry, I'm just speaking from my own experience now. Okay. So, listen, I'm going to go ahead and hang up and listen to your comment. Thank you for letting me talk. Good day to both of you.
All right.
Well, certainly that goes right in line with the idea, as I was saying, going back to slavery, that if we paint blacks as problematic, then that would cause the whites in the North to, want to support the Southern policies. And goodness, how do you even respond to something like that?
I don't know. You can't. I mean, hang on, caller. I just think it's wrong to make a blanket statement about
I think
one ethnic group. Like my ancestors come from Greece. All right. I don't want somebody making a blanket statement about my ethnic group that's negative, because it puts everybody in the same pot or same picture, that all Greeks are the same. Well, not all blacks are the same. Do you think the same as, say, do you have the same thought process as Michael Jordan? He's African American, you're African American. Do you think like him?
I think that
No, I want the answer to the question. Do you think like Michael Jordan?
I can't even speak to how Michael Jordan thinks.
Okay, there you go, because
Right.
you have no idea. Just because you're both African American doesn't mean you both have the same thought process. You can't make a blanket statement about one ethnic group. But I got to take this call here. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
You're on the air. Go ahead. We're waiting for you. Go ahead. We don't have all day. Caller?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead. Speak. You have the floor.
Yeah, I had a question. What I was saying was, you mentioned that you had went to a mixed school and that there's no segregation day, as the guest said, when in fact today, and you said you don't see it. Well, obviously you haven't been around out and about because you work a lot, but then you said that you had black friends, the majority of your friends were black friends. People that are black would hear that and would laugh and just say that you sound mighty white, because that's pretty much a racial statement in itself. A lot of white people say that, oh, I got a lot of black friends. It just sounds really,
I didn't say that.
Kind of out there,
Okay.
I agree with your host, I agree with your guest. It is more segregated now than it's ever been.
Okay.
Look at the NBA, segregated.
Okay.
Can a Hispanic just plays really good basketball get on the basketball team and play in the NBA? No, even though no matter how good they are, there's segregation, and just whether you get out and you really see it or really know what's happening.
Yeah, well, tell me if Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, you tell me if he doesn't run across a white or a Hispanic player that he's not going to put him on that team if he thinks he's going to help him win an NBA title. I don't think Steve Kerr looks at color. I got to disagree with you on that.
Well, how many people come out of college that are Hispanic and play in the NBA?
Well,
Once you look at the numbers.
Maybe they're not talented enough. It takes talent to win
There's
in the
plenty
NBA.
of talent enough.
They're looking to
NBA
win NBA championships. They're not looking at color. You mean to
Well,
tell me
people
that
say that
Steve
because they
Kerr
have to
is
these days.
going to look at color rather than look at winning an NBA title? I don't think so. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's a thought rather than a fact. Like it's supposed to be a feeling rather than a fact. And the fact is, these days, people don't really say what they really mean because they're afraid. They don't even speak out against homosexuals because they're afraid of getting blacklisted or jammed up for it. When in fact we have freedom of speech today. Donald Trump becoming president really proves that, because he'll say anything he wants to say. These days you say something and then they want you to apologize for something that you really don't want to apologize for. When in fact, just look at the numbers. In the past, there's been nobody that's in the NBA that's Hispanic. I mean, think about it. You think of one player that really stand out. It has nothing to do with not being good.
It takes talent.
It has to do with not being given a chance.
You know, don't talk to me about sports, because it takes talent to play sports. It's God-given talent. You're either good enough or you're not good enough. I don't care if you're white, black, pink, yellow, green, orange. I don't care what color you are. You have to have talent to play pro sports.
You also have
I
to
don't
have
get angry on
access.
this show very often, but what I did say is the majority of the people that I went to school with in elementary school and junior high school, and you can look it up, in the 60s, was California Junior High School in Sacramento. And the majority of those students were African American. Who was I going to be friends with? I was either friends with African Americans, or maybe I didn't have any friends. I chose to have friends. I don't have that many African American friends now, but that guy totally took that out of context. That's total nonsense. But I'm off my soapbox
the last caller who was talking about, the prior caller who was talking about attitudes and blacks not being able to be talked down.
Hang on, caller.
That notion of being a good black person, it's exceedingly racist that blacks can't be talked down by police because they're irrational and emotional and out of control.
I think anybody can be talked down. I think anybody can be talked out of a situation. I don't care what color they are. If their emotions run high. Look, we're all human. You have a heart, you have a head, you have two eyes, you have one nose, you have two lips, just like me, just like every other human being, for the most part.
We all put our pants on one leg at a time, right?
So we all have the same emotions. We feel anger, we feel anxiety, we feel like we've been cheated to a certain extent. I think every human being, to a certain extent, have the ability to be talked out of a situation.
But our perceptions about people's emotions do vary by ethnic group. So if we perceive, black women as angry black women, or black men as angry black men, then the perception is that we aren't allowed to have emotions and an emotional response. Not at this particular moment.
Irritated, a little
Perhaps.
irritated, yeah,
Perhaps.
by that other caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
I just wanted to say, when she was talking about kids getting kicked out of school and everything, I think that one of our problems with all of the gang members, and no matter what color they are, is in school, they're putting algebra in 4th grade and all of this crap that everybody doesn't need to learn. It is unnecessary, and kids feel stupid when they get in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, freshmen, when they're having to learn stuff that is not necessary. Everybody's not going to go to college. Everybody doesn't need to go to college. And all they need to learn is what they need for what they're going to become when they get out of school. And if they weren't teaching the kids things that they have to learn on their own, if they weren't teaching things that they don't have to need, they feel stupid. They drop out of school, and then they join gangs or whatever so they can get money to survive and things like that. And I think our schools, I think they ought to be, taught reading, writing, arithmetic, and the things you're going to use just to live. That should be number one. And of course, history and, things like that. But the algebra and some of the things that they're teaching kids in school.
We got to go, ma'am, but thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. We got about a minute left. I'll give you the last word.
Well, thank you for having me on the show today, and it's good to talk about the political landscape changing. I hope we do see some changes that are positive, and I hope that the new mayor has a transparent administration where people can participate and make the city better.
Okay. Melissa, come back.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a
I
good
hope
day.
you come back again soon.
Thank you.
Good conversation.
Have
All
lovely
right.
holidays.
Back on Monday with another edition of Connect with Me. Cam Worrell will be here, former Fresno State player, former NFL player. We're back on Monday live on Me TV Fresno. Have a great, safe weekend.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising now. Call me today to find out how affordable MeTV is at 905-1925.